All right, everybody. Good Monday morning. Meteorologist Alex Carter with you here in the Fox 54 Digital Weather Center for what is another edition of Weather Aware Live. We are tracking those strong to severe storms this morning as they are pushing into the CSRA. So if you're just joining us, again, we're watching a big cluster of thunderstorms. In fact, coming to you now, this is at about 8 o'clock this morning, 7:54, when we started this live, with some encouraging trends overall, I will say. Some encouraging trends on the front of the fact that we have a line of storms out in front of the main line of storms. And because that's happening, I think some of those storms could rob some of the instability for the main event, which is just a little bit to our west at this hour, which you see there on Doppler radar. Tornado warning for Macon right now, right over downtown Macon. That rotation not very impressive, but just enough to call that tornado warning. For us, again, no tornado warnings right now, but we are seeing a lot of thunder and lightning across parts of the CSRA. So let's go ahead and get to the local picture and show you a little bit more in depth on that. Look at the amount of lightning here. I mean, this is anywhere from southern Richmond County near Deansbridge Road, southern Columbia County, and now that severe thunderstorm warning has been extended for the line out to our west, going ahead and issuing that for Washington, Tignal, areas of Wilkes County. We've got northern McDuffie County. We've got northern Columbia County, Lincoln, and McCormick. So in this severe thunderstorm warning. So showing you that there. This goes until 9 a.m. So going ahead and issuing that severe thunderstorm warning ahead of the line, which is pushing through the area right now. So Washington, Tignal, getting some gusty winds up to 60 miles an hour in your area. Doesn't look like we see any rotation. I'm monitoring it on multiple different fronts and not seeing anything that would concern me with rotation. And I think the good news here with this is this batch of storms, while it's heavy, in areas of Jefferson County getting slammed with the worst of the weather right now, while this is the worst of the weather, the good news is it's below severe limits and it's robbing some of the moisture and some of the instability from this main line of storms that's rolling in, crossing I-75 in Macon and crossing Lake Oconee right now. So the good news for us is that that severe threat could be very limited today, more than we originally thought, because of this opening batch of storms, which is kind of robbing some of that instability. Look at the amount of strikes here. I mean, this is a tremendous amount of lightning in this storm. Let's go ahead and look at how much there is, how many strikes. And we got 180 strikes just in that little swath right there, anywhere from southern Columbia, southern Richmond, and Columbia and McDuffie counties, all the way down to Jefferson County, 181 strikes there. This is anywhere from Highway 278, even I-20, and points south. And so we're probably able to see that pretty well on our Evans Town Center camera this morning. Let's go ahead and check that out. We're looking more so south and west, and there you see it. Might even see some lightning coming down on this camera here soon. But again, these storms are all below severe limits. The ones that aren't are moving in, and that's why we have a severe thunderstorm warning out over the next hour for Lincoln, McCormick, Wilkes counties, and northern Columbia, northern McDuffie counties. So again, watching for that chance of some stronger weather as this continues to roll in. Now, here's the catch, right? We've got multiple different things that we're watching, and part of that is we've got this big cluster of thunderstorms that's out ahead of the main line, and that's good because it has the potential to rob some of the instability away from the main line of storms that's back towards Macon, Lake Oconee, and further south. So this batch out ahead, even though it seems bad with all the thunder, the lightning, the heavy rain, it's actually a good thing because it can rob some of that instability away from the biggest batch of storms. So hopefully that'll do that. Hopefully that's exactly what will transpire. But what we are watching now is we have a severe thunderstorm warning. This is from Appling and points north. So if you're in Columbia County and you just got a notification for a severe thunderstorm warning, if you're in Evans, Grovetown, Martinez, that does not apply to you yet. That could change as we head through the rest of the morning. But right now, the worst of the weather is happening right over Augusta, Grovetown, Thompson, Washington, Tignal, and Rail until further notice. And looking at some of your comments this morning, Yes, indeed, Benjamin. We're watching that as well. Lots of lightning. Thank you for that, Tabitha. Thank you for that report. Yep, lots of lightning with these cells. I mean, we got a lot of strikes moving through. Hepzibah, you're seeing the worst of the weather right now as well. Again, you guys are not under severe thunderstorm warning. If you're in Grovetown, Augusta, Blythe, Gracewood, we might see this ending up going to a severe thunderstorm warning, but for the moment, it's not. And I'm not seeing a lot of rotation at this point either. That's something we're closely monitoring as we head through the next several hours. This is just good old-fashioned heavy rain, thunder, and lightning if you're in the Augusta metro, and it's going to continue to be that way. If you look at the last 15 minutes, kind of where that's headed, Evans, Martinez, going to be a wet start to the day, and we're going to keep that rolling as we head into the next several hours here. I think most of the rain's going to be done by 3 to 4, but the severe weather threat, I think, ends by about 1 p.m. at our southeastern counties. The Augusta metro, I think the severe weather threat's done by noon at the latest. So all this is headed this way. Here's kind of the brunt of it, and this is what we're going to be tracking as we walk you through it during the morning hours. Yeah, no doubt, Brandon. No kidding. It is pouring out there. Many of you watching this stream, thank you guys for your trust this morning. Again, we're going to be walking you through it. I think, we're seeing some encouraging signs. We were just talking about this at the very start of the Weather Aware Live broadcast here. This leading edge, this big complex of showers, it's a good thing. It's robbing this line here of its instability. And hopefully that'll continue to do so. We could see some rain-cooled air moving through, and that limits what we get with this main line. This is what we call messy convection. And, all that means is we're seeing a lot of rain out ahead of the main event. And that can really help us out. So don't be intimidated by the thunder and the lightning and the heavy rain right now, because these storms are below severe limits. However, they're very hazardous for that morning commute, and Deansbridge Road is getting the worst of this right now. So if you're headed along Highway 1 from Augusta down to Blythe, Hepzibah, Bath, on down to Rennes, this is the worst of the weather as we speak. And these thunderstorms are training. I think we see some short-lived flash flooding, dare I say, in Jefferson County. So if you're in Louisville, if you're in Rennes, if you're in Bartow, we could see some short-lived minor flooding this morning as a result of this training band of thunderstorms, which continues to roll up from the south and west. And so that's what we're going to be watching. It looks to be, I'd say by the time we get to about 9 o'clock, this could all congeal into one big mess, which is the best possible situation for what we're looking at here, because that would really limit our severe weather threat this morning. And so seeing several of you talking about that tornado watch, yes. So we are in a tornado watch now through, let's see how far this one goes. We'll edit that. That's going to go until 2 p.m. this afternoon. And I think it'll expire well before then. I think 2 p.m. is just out of an abundance of caution. So fear not there. And notice here, I think a little bit of a disagreement in thought from the National Weather Service in Atlanta versus the National Weather Service in Columbia here, because National Weather Service in Atlanta has not issued that tornado watch for Glasscock, Jefferson, Emmanuel counties just yet, but they have issued it, and there's the National Weather Service in Charleston now, just expanding their tornado watch. Aiken, Barnwell, Bamberg, Allendale, Waynesboro, these are all places included in that watch. And the thing is the further east that we go into the day, the higher the chance for tornadoes. So on the South Carolina side of the river, I think is the highest opportunity for that. And that's what we're going to be watching as this line rolls through. We got a couple clusters of thunderstorms here. And so we got to watch both to make sure that severe weather threat stays limited. But you see the main cluster, which is back towards Macon, Milledgeville, Lake Oconee, and then we've got this cluster that's moving out ahead of it, which is the more prolific lightning maker where the warm, unstable air is at. Not seeing any heavy rotation with any of these cells, might I add. We'll keep a watch-hawk eye on it, but I think this is mainly some good old-fashioned heavy rain, gusty wind, and a lot of lightning. These are some electric thunderstorms that are pushing through. Let's show you what it's looking like from downtown Augusta. again, I mean, the worst of the weather is right on the door of downtown. And definitely think that we could see some gusty winds, frequent lightning, heavy rain. So this is disruptive to the morning commute. I will say this is not going to be the most friendliest drive to work over the next, I'd say, 1 to 2 hours. And if you're going out and about, just make sure to stay weather aware with us. We'll be tracking those severe watches and warnings as we head through the morning hours and early afternoon as well. And looking at some areas, that tornado watch expanding here. Severe thunderstorm warning continues for Wilkes County. But that's the view from downtown Augusta right now. I'm about to get it back to local radar. The good news is, with these showers and thunderstorms that are pushing across the area right now, the good news with those, we just got a new look at something here. And so let's see here. So National Weather Service now just putting out one of their latest discussions and talking about, actually, I'm going to answer this question first from Lexi. Lexi asked how long we're going to be live. We're going to be live with you through the duration of this event. And so we're going to be here not just on Facebook and YouTube, but we'll also be cutting into programming on Fox 54 in the event of a significant severe thunderstorm or a tornado warning. Some of the severe thunderstorms today, I think the biggest thing to voice here is that some of the severe thunderstorms today could produce wind gusts that you need to treat like a tornado warning. We could see some gusts up to 70 to 75 miles an hour, and those are straight line wind gusts. That's not tornadoes. So if you see trees down today, it's not automatically going to be guaranteed because of a tornado. It's actually going to be because of some strong straight line winds more times than not in this particular case. But yeah, weather's about to start ramping up around here. And, what I'm hoping for is this leading edge in this area of the rain before the main line. What we're hoping for is that it robs some of the instability from these storms that are back off towards the west. You see multiple tornado warnings now for Macon, and these are the areas that we'll have to watch out for. I mean, if we go to velocity, you'll see that a little bit better. These storms, definitely. I mean, you see the notches in the line. It's very similar to Thursday, if you will. Like there's some rotation there right over downtown Macon at the I-16-75 merger, and then a little bit of a stronger area of rotation. And they've extended that tornado warning going towards Milledgeville. That is right near Gray, Georgia. And if we look at the debris tracker, not seeing anything just yet. Maybe this little area of pixelation here. But again, these tornado warnings, they're going to happen fast. And these storm lines, they do move quickly. They move very quickly. I mean, these are moving east at about 55 miles an hour. So if I track this out with this main batch of storms here, the one that we're watching for the highest end severe threat, this will be right on the edge of the CSRA by the time we get to the next hour. So if you're in Jefferson County, Warren County, Glasscock County, closer to even Emmanuel County, I give this about 9 o'clock, and then we're going to see that leading edge start to be moving in. But right now we do have that severe thunderstorm warning, and I'll go ahead and zoom back in on the severe thunderstorm warning real quick. It goes for areas of northern Columbia County from Appling and points north, not Evans, Grovetown, or Martinez, northern McDuffie County, north of I-20, and then it includes Clarksville Lake, McCormick, Plum Branch, Mount Carmel, Lincolnton, Chenault, Washington, and that's where we're seeing the worst of the winds right now is in Washington and Tignall. We're just talking about areas that are seeing gusts up to maybe 60 miles an hour possible as this moves through. And Kaylee, thank you for that report. Grovetown is without power. And, let's go ahead and start looking up some of these. I think, the frequent amount of lightning that's going to be present with these storms is going to indeed cause some problems when it comes to power outages. On top of that, the winds. I think we'll see isolated to scattered power outages. And not seeing too much yet here in our area. But just something to make note of. I think power outages are possible. It's important to get that charge on your phone. And windy, Wheeler Road, the thunder and the lightning is no joke. Thank you for that report. Wendy asked, what about Midville to Metter in Candler County? Because we're on the roads today headed in that direction. Wendy, I do think you're going to run into some strong to severe storms. Try to get where you're going, I would say, before 10 o'clock in the morning. That's my best advice. And then make sure you have a place to go in the event of a tornado warning. Especially the further south you go, the more instability there is, just naturally how this goes. So that's what I would recommend, trying to get where you're going before 10 o'clock. Make sure you have a place to be if the weather gets nasty in your area. Kaylin, thank you for that report. Appreciate the kind words as well. Lost power, and the storm hasn't even fully hit yet. And that goes to show you there's a lot of lightning, and the pure amount of lightning strikes with this storm, even just the one ahead of the lead line, that's what we're going to be dealing with over the next little bit. Bonnie, thank you for that. Bonnie, you have one of the best weather names ever. Bonnie Jean Rainville. Thunder and lightning in Midville. Let's see, Kaylee off of Newmantown in Grovetown. I'm going to go ahead and let our team know about that. There we go. Just reported that. Thank you for that report, Michaela. It's not the entire city of Grovetown. It is isolated pockets. But, yeah, I mean, the pure amount of lightning with these storms is what's going to give us the chance of some power outages through the first half of the day. And then once this main line rolls in, it's going to be the winds because some of these gusts could get pretty high. And that main line is barreling down. So what I'm going to be looking out for, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the lightning off once we scan it once quick. Anywhere from western Burke County, southern Columbia County, northeast Jefferson County. I mean, we've got 230 lightning strikes just in this swath, and a lot of that's happening right now over Evans and Martinez. We've seen some nasty storms already. Thankfully, they're all below severe limits except one, and you see it coming down here from Evans Town Center, so we're right down the street from this camera. Not too far down the line, and Fox 54 Studios expressing the same sentiment. It's going to be a stormy morning for sure, and we're going to keep that going through the next several hours here. But there it is from Evans Town Center. So, Amanda, that's a good question. Thank you for that. So with it moving in a bit earlier, has the severity of tornadoes on the Georgia side lessened? I do think that tornado risk, if you're in Wilkes County, Tolliver County, Warren County, not quite as high as the rest of us. I think the worst of the weather, if you're in Wilkes County, is actually happening right now. Now, as we start to go through the next few hours, I still think we're going to be warm enough to produce severe weather in the Augusta area. So I can't rule out the threat of tornadoes just yet. I think there is a pronounced tornado risk today. I still think that's a possibility. But the good news, though, I will say, is this morning batch of storms that we're getting right now is robbing some of the instability from this main line as it pushes east. And that's a good sign there. So as we get some of that rain-cooled air happening, I think this line could start to weaken a little bit as it progresses eastward. So that's good news there. So if you're at Clarks Hill Lake and it's just sprinkling, if you're in McCormick and it's bone dry and you have a severe thunderstorm warning, the National Weather Service is going to be issuing these on down the line. So they're going to be issuing these well in advance because these storm lines are going to move pretty quick today. We're talking anywhere from 50 to 55 miles an hour to the east. That's how quickly all this is arriving. And I think we could see some flash flooding. I know we're already getting some road ponding, have to be, in Jefferson County and near Keysville in western Burke County. So if you're joining us for this, again, good morning. Tracking these showers and storms, that severe weather threat for today, and just making sure you guys have everything you need. So chances of tornadoes, it's possible today. I do want to say that. I think if we go into the STP here, I'm going to go ahead and try to pull that up. So going through the next few hours here, okay, I mean, you see the tornado potential. It starts to decrease a pretty good amount once we get past about 9 to 10 o'clock. And so I'm still not going to let my guard down yet, though, when it comes to areas on the South Carolina side of the river. So just a heads up, I still think tornadoes are possible today. But the good news is what the models, I think, are picking up on is this morning round of storms is definitely holding the fort down, if you will, when it comes to the instability, and it's limiting some of that potential. So let's hope that keeps going. And if that trends in the right direction, then we're out of the woods. But again, still think some high wind gusts are going to be possible over the next several hours. Let's see. We got this batch, and they've decided to drop that tornado warning in Macon, and all this is progressing eastward. So mainly what we're dealing with is just a heavy rain event right now, and hopefully that'll keep being the case today. I think this morning batch of rain could really rob us of some of that instability. Power blip in Harlem. Thank you for that, Scott White. Hopefully you're getting a good heavy rain today. I know y'all need it. I know y'all need it for sure. And here at Fox 54, things trying to quiet down a little bit. I think we'll hear some more booms of thunder before that's all said and done. Let's look at the view from Beach Island here real quick. And still things pretty quiet, but you're going to see that shelf cloud kind of moving in from the west. And that's where the thunderstorms are located right now. We're seeing some of that across the Augusta Metro. That I-20 tower cam is struggling. I will say that. So there's the view from Evans Town Center. Again, I do think the strongest wind gusts are going to be along that main line of showers and storms today. And so that's going to be tracking to the east. Michaela, I totally get that. The storm anxiety front, I will say, with this particular event, no need to be scared about it. I do think the worst of the weather is going to be happening over the next few hours. But again, the encouraging signs are this morning rain is really robbing some of that instability from actually happening. So the good news here is that line of storms might not be nearly as potent as what we were earlier anticipating, because all this rain and heavy thunder and lightning here. And we got a storm spotter report now. Danielle in Martinez, Georgia, reporting pea-size hail. Riverwatch Parkway, Clark Point area. So some of these storms growing strong this morning out ahead of the main line. And discussing with the National Weather Service a few things, talking about this this prefrontal round of rain, the one that we're experiencing right now, to see if that could hinder that severe weather threat, because I think that will be the case here. That's what it's looking like, and we're trending in the right direction. Let's see here. Booming a lot here in West Augusta. Thank you, weather watcher Mark Hardy, our weather watcher here at Fox 54. If you're in Warren County and you just got a notification, or Tolliver County, you've got a severe thunderstorm warning now for your area. And that's because of the main line that's going to be moving in. So the main line is now in Wilkes County. And moving forward here, I think, we're going to see this morning round of storms, which is happening over Augusta, parts of Burke County, Jefferson County. And then we've got the main line that we've been talking about since Friday. And that severe thunderstorm warning goes for the Clarksville Lake, McCormick, Lincolnton, Washington. That's where the strongest of the gusts are now. Crawfordville as well. If you're in Warrenton, you're kind of getting split. If you're in Warren County in general, the worst of the storms is to your south and to your north, but the walls will cave in, and I think you're going to see the worst of the weather here over the next, I would say, 40 minutes. And that severe thunderstorm warning does indeed go until 9 a.m., and so that does include Warrenton, Mayfield, Norris, all those areas, and it's going to keep pushing further and further to the east. The worst of this line looks to be right over Macon, and I'm curious to see how it's going to look in about 30 minutes as it moves closer and closer to our area, because is it going to beat out these storms that are already in Jefferson County? That's the trend to watch here, because I think that significantly decreases the tornado threat down. And if you look, the tornado threat a little bit more pronounced up near Charlotte this morning, near Rock Hill, South Carolina, all those locations in the upstate, Spartanburg getting a tornado warning at this hour. So it goes to show you, and we're not out of the woods, but I do see some encouraging trends as we continue to look at this. Our goal is definitely not to scare you. It's just to keep you informed of what's capable from this event. Tabitha, that's a very possible conclusion where both of these lines ends up meeting, because I think the line that's back towards Macon is at a higher forward speed than the one that is moving over the CSRA right now. And as a result, I do end up thinking that we could just get one big mess of rain, which is really the best case scenario for this particular event. So that's something we'll have to watch closer as we head into the next few hours. First rumbles of thunder now in Aiken County. Yes, we go here on radar. If you're in Aiken, you don't have a severe thunderstorm warning yet, but that doesn't mean that these storms won't pack a punch as they head your way. I mean, you look at all of the lightning. I'm going to turn that off because, we can't even see the radar because there's so many strikes. But right over Augusta, Hepzibah, Keysville, Vidette, you're right on that edge of the heaviest rain. If you live in the eastern side of Vidette near Drone, you're dry. But if you live on the western side or up near Go or St. Clair, it's a torrential downpour this morning. Louisville to Bartow. Bartow's getting hammered with heavy rain, and then Wadley has barely anything. So radar and some of these rainfall bands, they'll do that sometimes where the leading edge just doesn't treat you very kindly. We need a good soaking rain around here. Looks like we're going to get just that with this particular event. Barry, good morning. Thank you for that. Barry asked, what kind of wind gust speeds are we looking at in northern Emmanuel County? Right now, with some of these thunderstorms that are moving through your area, I would say anywhere from 30 to 40 miles an hour is where those high-end gusts could be. But with this line back to the west, so long as it doesn't weaken, which I think it still could, we could see some gusts along that line anywhere from, say, about 60 to 70 miles an hour, worst case scenario. And if we look back at some of the storm reports, the history of what this line has done, I mean, we'll take a closer look at that. You can see a history of, some wind damage and some trees down, things like that, back towards Atlanta, up near Chattanooga, down to Columbus, Georgia, and all that is trying to head this way. But again, the good news is that line of storms that's happening ahead of the main line, that should rob some of that instability out of the way. So we'll keep monitoring it. But that's kind of what's going on right now. It's a noisy morning here in the CSRA. Very noisy morning. So, Emily, what you're seeing right now is the precursor, if you will, like you were saying. The main line is back to our west, and that's going to be pushing in later this morning. Mark, thank you for that report. We've got pea-size hail in the National Hills area in Augusta. So just a heads up there. Kinsey, Baker County. Baker County is out of our area, I will say. But Baker County has pretty much the same. So still tracking these storms at this hour. Again, most of this, if not all of it, for the time being, is below severe limits. Where we do have a severe thunderstorm warning is down here into areas of Clarks Hill Lake, all the way over to about, say, right at the Clarks Hill border, Parksville, Plum Branch, McCormick, Lincolnton, Washington, and seeing some higher end gust potential with these storms as they track off to the east-southeast. Wind gust up to 60 miles an hour possible now in the southern half of Wilkes County. The good news is if you are in Tignal, if you're in Rail, and if you're in the Chenault community, worst of the severe weather's behind you. You've already got the all clear for the rest of the day if you're in Tignal and Rail. No more severe weather threat for you guys up in northern Wilkes County. This is going to move quick, and you get past that leading edge, it's done. If you're in Augusta, we still got a ways to go today. Back towards Milledgeville, back towards Gordon. This is where the severe thunderstorms are racing to the east. And look how this is catching up to this other round of thunderstorms. The two could even merge together here over the next little bit. That's something we'll watch because that would help us out. That would limit the instability. And again, these storms that are back to our west right now could weaken because of the morning round of storms that we're getting at this point. That's good news. And so National Weather Service, we were talking about this. They're talking about, they do agree that they think that this could rob some of the instability from the main line. And that's good news. That's what we want to see. So hopefully that'll keep going, and we'll continue to monitor this as it rolls through. But right now, again, severe thunderstorm warnings back towards Clarks Hill Lake, Lincolnton, McCormick, Wilkes County, southern Wilkes County. And we'll continue to monitor those as we move through. But again, right now, looks good with this morning round of rain and storms. Hopefully that robs the main batch that's moving in. So we're just going to continue to monitor these storms. They roll in. Right now, that leading edge could catch up to this big batch of storms. And what could happen as a result is we could see some intensification of these storms in general as they push through. But I still think that this leading edge of storms could be robbed of its instability by what we're seeing right now across much of the CSRA. So good news there. Let's hope that trend continues. The main line, Kaylee, is moving at about 55 miles an hour. It's booking it. It's moving about as fast as you would on a state highway, if you will. Sarah, I don't think tornadoes are necessarily, it's not a given, but it is a possibility. Schools aren't closed. I don't think, right now that leading edge passes through. Everybody gets in the hallway, stays inside. You're good to go. But it is something to monitor for potential tornado warnings today. Warrenville, thundering at the moment. Thank you, Melissa. Not a lot of rain in Modoc, but we do have some wind and some thunder. And that's kind of where we're looking at this leading edge of storms. So if you're in Modoc here, you're in between both clusters. The leading edge of storms is back towards McCormick, Lincolnton, Washington. So along Highway 378 is where that's crossing. And then to your south and east, just by maybe 5 miles at the most. Heavy thunderstorms right now. Exit 5, Riverwatch Parkway, Grovetown, William Few. William Few, because of this training rain ban, that's something else I want to keep track of. If you live along William Few Parkway, we know it historically has flooded in the past. And so hopefully that will not happen. But what we're seeing is a big training line of thunderstorms. Heavy rain's going to move over the same areas for a prolonged period of time. That could end up helping us out with some rainfall totals, but it could lead to some short-lived minor flooding. So just a heads up on that front if you're in the Augusta metro, because that line of heavy rain is just kind of moving in the same directions over the next couple of hours here. Lots of rain and thunder in Trenton, South Carolina. Thank you for that report, Shelby. Let's see. Therese, there we go. There we go. Let's see, not a lot of rain in Modoc. We were just talking about that one. Let's see. Lots of lightning and wind in Aiken, plus the rain. Yep, you're starting to get the worst of it now in Aiken County when it comes to the heaviest rain, thunder, and lightning. The main line of storms is not the one that you're seeing right now, though. If you're in Richmond, Burke, Jefferson County, Columbia County, Edgefield County. So this is not the one that you're seeing. Jonathan, what's driving these individual storms is we're in the perfect placement of the jet stream. So all that moisture is lifting up quickly, and it's just stirring up more storms. Thankfully, that's the case because a lot of the modeling, even the high-res models, weren't showing that. And that's why we were even more concerned, because the prefrontal rain that we're getting right now, that is always a pretty good beneficial thing when it comes to limiting severe storm development. And that's what I think could be happening right now. So that's a good sign. We're going to continue to track that here on Fox 54. But again, we'll take a break here in just a moment and get back with you on that programming, something that we'll be looking at as we move forward into the next few hours here. And we're just going to keep that radar loop up on full. We're going to go take care of a few things on the back end. But again, keeping that live stream up so you have the latest watches and warnings for your area. Right now, though, the time's 8:33. We're tracking strong to severe storms as they push in. The main line is what we'll be watching the closest as it rolls through. But be careful in this rain. Some flash flooding is definitely one of those impacts that we could see in the near term. We're going to put this radar loop up and keep that going. And there we go. And we'll be right back here in just a few minutes. All right, we are back live here on Facebook. Again, thank you for joining us for our coverage today. And here we go, back to it. A severe thunderstorm warning now is in effect for Emmanuel County. And this area of rotation, again, still pretty strong. It's overall pretty broad, though. And this is what I'm going to be watching. Could we see a brief area of spin up? It doesn't look very likely at this point, but it can't rule it out. And I do think we're seeing some strong wind gusts up to about 60 miles an hour. there's the very broad rotation right now. And you see this anywhere from northern Emmanuel County, near Wadley, this area here near Blundell. This is where we're seeing most of this. Right there. That's what I'm watching. So that's southern Jefferson, northern Emmanuel County. Some very broad rotation with this early cluster of storms. And that's tracking off to the east. Again, here's what it looks like the rest of the morning. So what we anticipate happening is the line that's back towards Macon and Milledgeville, it's going to catch up with the main round of storms that we're getting also this morning. That's going to congeal together, and it looks like areas east of Highway 25 are going to get the brunt of this system. That's what it's looking like. So east of Highway 25, it's from Edgefield to Augusta, Waynesboro, Millen, and points further to the east. So if you're in Aiken, Barnwell, Bamberg, Allendale, I'm watching this very closely for you guys as we begin to move in. And, that's what we're going to be watching for over the next several hours. Again, if you're just joining us, we are monitoring that potential for strong to severe weather. It continues across the area. And this is going to keep going for a little bit. So I think we've got until about lunchtime, and then this starts to really mosey on out of here. And then it's just about the cold later today. I will say that. We are anticipating some very cold weather beginning to move in. But we're back up here on Facebook Live, tracking these showers and storms. Thankfully, right now, the worst of this has been a little bit outside of our area. But we are starting to get some much more pronounced thunderstorms, one of those happening in Emmanuel County. The severe thunderstorm warnings continue for Edgefield, Lincoln, McCormick, northern Columbia, northern McDuffie, Crawford or Tolliver County, Wilkes County, and Warren County. And so all this line is headed our way. But the good news is with this, why I'm not necessarily so concerned about that severe weather threat as much anymore, is because this morning round of storms just robbed the instability. It just robbed it. And that's the best sign that we could have had all day long today. So that's the good news here. And, we're continuing to see signs of that right now. So right now it's just a bunch of heavy rain, some thunder and lightning. We also have the chance for some strong wind gusts as that main line begins to move through. What I'm going to be watching out for is some notches in the line, like right in this area, just east of Milledgeville. You see a few notches in the line, and this is where we'll be watching for maybe a brief spin-up tornado. I wouldn't be surprised if they issue a tornado warning right here near Deep Step and Linton. And this is the area where we're seeing some brief rotation right in there. So I wouldn't doubt if the National Weather Service issues a tornado warning along that line as it starts to move further east. That's a segment that I'll be watching for areas like Worthen, Sandersville, Tennille, and back towards Davisboro, and then eventually here in Glasscock, Jefferson County. And we're also monitoring a severe thunderstorm warning. Very broad rotation in this. Not very impressed with that, but I do think there's some high wind gusts, that's for sure. Actually, I'm going to take that off, and we're going to see how fast those winds are above the ground level. This is along Highway 1, 65-mile-an-hour wind gust. So we could see some gusts up to 50 to 60 miles an hour moving through northern Emmanuel County at this point. So, again, there's their higher winds. We're starting to see that potential as it's moving through. Rotation, not seeing a whole lot of it out there. That's the good news. The only area that I'm watching for rotation is this little Boeing segment in the storm that's just a little bit to the west of Glasscock and Jefferson County. But if we do a quick radar reset of everything, again, this is more about just some big batches of heavy rain with some gusty winds. Right now, it doesn't look very menacing for us, and that's a good sign. So this event had high-end potential, but what's robbed that high-end potential is this morning round of showers and thunderstorms that's really put a wrench in things for the main line to our west. Couldn't have ended up better. We love to see that. It's fantastic, and hopefully we can get through this. No damage, no problems, and then we'll just have to bundle up for a little bit. And bundling up is going to be the main thing past today, that's for sure. Let's see. I'm viewing your comments now. A lot of ponding on the south side of Augusta. Hearing this from a friend of mine. Mark, thank you for that report. Augusta, especially south of downtown and near downtown area, has a history of flooding in these big rain events. And what we're seeing is a lot of these storms moving kind of in the same direction over and over and over again. And so that's what we're going to be watching. So going to be monitoring that potential for some strong to severe storms, but also the chance of some short-lived flash flooding. This storm line is anywhere from Edgefield and McCormick counties to Wilkes, Lincoln, and Wilkes County and Edgefield counties. McCormick, you're seeing this as well. Warren County to Oliver County, you're getting in on this also. And now we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Aiken County. That's just coming in. So if you are in, say, Waynesboro, you're getting the worst of the weather right now. If you are in Millen, if you are in Sardis, if you are in Jackson, New Ellington, you're just outside of this. And if you're near Savannah Riverside, you know somebody who's headed towards Savannah Riverside. Let them know they've got a strong thunderstorm headed their way. It's not over SRS just yet, but it will be in a matter of minutes. Severe thunderstorm warning for the 60-mile-an-hour gust. And see if the National Weather Service said anything about that. You know, we got rainfall rates near Highway 56 and Brown Road, just south of Augusta. Rainfall rates about an inch an hour. So near the McBean community as well, some very heavy downpours that are headed in your direction. And just be careful driving. I think, you know, if you're in Augusta, we might have a flood advisory here over the next 30 minutes, maybe to an hour. That's something we'll keep a close track of as well. But this is all, fortunately, congealed into one big mess on radar. One big mess. And that's good because that means our tornado threat goes down and our severe weather threat also goes down. I'm going to look at the radar trends, see if we have any areas of rotation. But monitoring these storms, I mean, still nothing too significant at this moment. Rotation very broad in a lot of these cells. I'm not seeing a whole lot of that for concern at this time. And we're just going to see some heavy rain, some gusty winds, and some thunder and lightning, and that, I think, looks to be the extent of it here. A tornado warning still can't be ruled out, but that chance of strong tornadoes doesn't look nearly as likely. This is congealed, again, into one big mess of rain. And so we're going to enjoy the good soaking rain, I can tell you that much. And then it's going to get cold later tonight. Let's walk you through the rest of this. Here's that one big mess of showers and storms. We're going to keep that rolling through the morning. We get this out of the way by about, I'd say, noon to 1 p.m., then we're going to see this line starting to move out. And by about 2:30, we'll see some short-lived showers on the backside of this. Notice in the North Georgia mountains, some snow is going to be possible. But here's what it's looking like by 5 this evening. 5 this evening. It's going to get cold, and it's going to get cold pretty quickly. I'm going to do some wind chill maps here. I want to show you this and kind of how that shakes out for tomorrow morning. I mean, wind chill tomorrow morning is going to be a little stout, to say the least. You see that right here. So while these storms are rolling through and we have no imminent tornado threat, I do want to walk you through kind of what's happening past the rain. So here's what that's going to look like. So let's walk you through the next few hours here. We're going to get this main batch of showers and storms, one big mess, if you will. It's going to keep going. Gets out of the way by about the lunch hour here. By about 1 to 2 o'clock, we're just dealing with some light showers, nothing more than that. Skies are going to slowly clear out once we get closer to sunset tonight. We'll see a few lingering light rain showers around 2 to 3 in the afternoon. And then watch what happens. This is at 5 o'clock. Notice there, we've got a stout batch of wind chill coming in. It's going to feel like 43. And then watch what happens here. This is at about 5 to 7 in the evening. Wind chill values well into the 30s. And then here we go. Wind chill values dropping into the 20s to start out tomorrow. It is going to be a freezer. So make sure to bundle up. Make sure to take care of yourself out there. It is going to be frigid, okay? So wind chill values will be in the 20s. It's going to be a shock to the system. And we do have a freeze warning in effect for most of the CSRA, and that goes until further notice. That goes until tomorrow morning at about, say, 9 o'clock. So past this, again, heavy thunderstorms. You know, they've dropped that severe thunderstorm warning. They've dropped it entirely. And that's good news there. So, you know, if you're in Augusta, you're now under that severe thunderstorm warning. But right now, I'm not looking at anything of too high of concern. And so that's the good news there. They're putting out a special weather statement for that line. And this is all congealing into one big mess. So we're looking pretty good here as we head into the 9 o'clock hour, I will say. Strong thunderstorms impacting parts of the CSRA at this time. Heavy rain. Some gusty winds. Wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour still possible as all this blows through. But again, right now, seeing mainly just a good old-fashioned heavy rain event. And this is all congealing together into one big mess. So we're in good shape here, looking pretty good to go. And that morning round of rain really robbed the instability for this event. So we like to see that. Good news there. And I hope you guys are having a good start to the day. No power in Midville. Thank you for that report, Bonnie. We are seeing some power outage reports coming in across the CSRA. But, yep, there it is. I mean, seeing that near Brazilia, Boneville, Deering, Harlem, Grovetown. These are all spots that we're seeing some of that heavy rain at this hour. And keeping a track of that as it moves through. But nothing of super concern at this time. Lisa, the good news is we're not expecting ice after all this rain. And here's why. You know, that wind chill is going to be so stout, those winds will act like a fan. So it's going to dry the ground out before any of that ice can settle in overnight. And it's going to be a light freeze as well. It's not going to be a deep freeze. So temperatures will not be below freezing for a substantial period of time. So I hope that answers that question there, Lisa. And I think we'll be in pretty good shape. Good to hear from you as always. And, yep, that's right, Atara. A severe weather warning has been issued for Evans. It's a severe thunderstorm warning. And strong wind gusts possible along this main line. But, again, not seeing anything overly impressive, and that's a good thing. So we're going to continue to monitor these storms as they roll through, but still not looking at anything too substantial for us at this time. You know, you see the radar at this point, and there's that severe thunderstorm warning for all of Columbia County, McDuffie County, all of Richmond County as well. And this is accounting for this line right here. I'm going to go ahead and show you. It's accounting for this line, and it's moving more east-southeast. So if you're in Grovetown, Augusta, Evans, Martinez, you'll see a leading edge of gusts that'll be pretty heavy. And then that looks to be it. And if we actually let's go to Evans Town Center right now, because it's pretty quiet actually over most of Columbia County. Just some moderate rainfall happening right now. You see that there. But again, that severe thunderstorm warning does go until about 9:30. Let's see. They're going to keep that going an hour. So they're going to keep that going until about 10 o'clock. But again, things have stabilized. This morning round of rain, like we've been talking about all so far this morning, was the best possible thing that could have happened. And so, if we go back to the storm reports, notice where most of those are at. They stopped as they tracked east of I-75 there. But for us, there's your look at all that's happening. One big mess of rain with a ton of lightning attached to it. And the worst storms really right now are happening back towards Warren County, but especially Emmanuel and Burke counties at this hour. Heavy rain, gusty winds, those are the main impacts at this time. And still looking at that potential for a few stronger wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour as these track east. But the good news is we're seeing mainly what is a weakening line of thunderstorms moving through. Getting a whole lot weaker here. And I think that the higher chance of tornadoes today is going to be well to our north and east. We weren't really convinced on the whole EF2, EF3, EF4 tornado risk. Most tornadoes are not that strong. In fact, most of them are EF0s or EF1s, so if you see those weak little embedded cells, and this might be a lower impact event than what we had on Thursday, after all. So it goes to show you, not every severe weather risk, even though you think the setup is better, sometimes it just doesn't perform, and we'll take that, for sure and run with it. Let's see, Burke County. Michelle, thank you for that report. Burke County and that question. We got a severe thunderstorm warning out right now. This goes until about, I think 10 o'clock if you're in Burke County. Heavy rain, gusty winds up to 60 miles an hour, and lots of thunder and lightning. Those are the biggest impacts there. Same could be said for Jenkins County, anywhere from Millen and points to the north. Swainsboro, you're right on the tail edge of that severe thunderstorm warning. This is pretty much along US 80 and east of Highway 1. So if you're north of 80, east of 1, that's where this is at. Mainly State Road 56 is the main roadway impacted there from Swainsboro up to Midville and then on up into Waynesboro. So that stretch is the most heavily impacted right now. And we're seeing the main line just starting to kind of dissolve before our very eyes here. It ran into that morning round of storms and it just couldn't hold up. And so all good things there. We love to see that. Hopefully this will stay at bay and not be super impactful in our area. Yeah, Warren County, you've got about, I'd say, 10 more minutes, and you're all clear from the severe weather threat today. So Grovetown, you're kind of seeing the worst of it right now. I mean, this storm line that's trying to catch up with the first round of rain that we had. The thing about that is it's all starting to congeal together into one big mess right now. And so this is all pushing east at a pretty good clip. But the good news is that's going to lower our severe weather threat here in the CSRA. So if you're watching us this morning, the good news is that severe thunderstorm threat is starting to weaken as it begins to move into our area. And that's because this all has congealed together into one big mess. So not expecting a high-end severe weather threat for the remainder of today. Still could see a tornado. Not going to rule that out, but I don't think this is a severe weather outbreak setup, and I think most of this is out of the way completely by noon. We'll get some rain behind the main lines here. None of this that you're going to see is severe right here. None of that's severe. So, again, I just don't see a significant threat developing right now. I think this is one big slop of rain, and that's going to be the last of it there as it moves out of the area. So you're going to keep a track of this with you here on Fox 54, monitoring the severe weather threat as this begins to pass through the area. But again, the chance of severe thunderstorms right now is the highest in Burke County, southern Aiken County, the city of Aiken, getting the worst of the weather right now. Barnwell, you're on the way to this. This is all moving in your direction, I'd say, over the next 45 minutes. This is all moving east, southeast at a pretty good clip here. But I'm anticipating all this to be out of the area, the worst of the weather threat by noon. And I think by noon, this is pretty much out of the way. So we're going to go ahead and leave this up. Severe thunderstorm warnings do continue for Aiken, Augusta, Edgefield, Waynesboro, New Ellington, into Barnwell, into Millett, into northern Screven County, into Jenkins County. These are the places that severe weather threat continues. We'll continue to monitor that. But in the meantime, again, tornado threat looks very low at this time, not anticipating a tornado outbreak of any kind. This is just one big slop of heavy rain and with some gusty winds attached to it. Very summer-like, if you will. So, again, not necessarily overly concerned. We'll continue to keep a track of this, and we're going to keep that live feed up, and we'll continue to cut in as needed with those frequent updates, keeping this live stream up for us. All right, everybody. We are back here on Facebook Live, again, tracking what has been a very, thankfully, underwhelming round of showers and storms here. I think, the CSRA could be under the all clear by 11 o'clock this morning. So looking pretty good here as we head into the home stretch. Note that this line of showers and storms, there's not much left to it. It's just congealed like we were talking about into one big mess of rain. Still have that severe thunderstorm warning for the Augusta Metro. And, the heaviest of the rain's happening right near Harlem, Grovetown, Evans, all the way down to Rennes. So pretty much Highway 1, Fort Gordon, Grovetown, Harlem. And if you're in McDuffie County, going to go ahead and give you the all clear. Warren County, all clear. McCormick, Lincolnton, Wilkes County, Tolliver County, all clear. Glasscock County, all clear. This is dwindling down pretty quickly this morning, and I fully anticipate that to continue as we move through the next several hours here. Not a very underwhelming line of showers and thunderstorms here, and that's the best thing that we could have seen today. That's for sure. Let's go ahead and take it to rotation. Checking that. Again, we're seeing some signs of gusty winds here for sure, but when it comes to a tornado threat, it just doesn't look very pronounced today, and that's a good thing. So there's your higher winds right there, and you see some of those higher wind signals around the area. But, again, when it comes to strong to severe weather, that potential is extremely low now. And, Just looking at maybe the chance of a few 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts across parts of the CSRA, especially Edgefield, Richmond, Aiken, Barnwell, Burke counties, Allendale counties. But I'm not seeing anything overly impressive or concerning at this time. So good news there. This is turning into just one big slop of rain as it pushes to the east. Chances of any tornadoes or widespread damage reports, I don't think we're seeing that. And, I think by 11 o'clock, we're all clear around here in our area. So if you're just joining us, good evening, or good morning, I should say. Keep it up with the time. Been here last night, been here this morning, trying to keep up. But again, the severe weather threat is dwindling down for today. Here's kind of what's ahead as we head into the next several hours. I will say it's going to get pretty cold tonight. Here's the wind chill. Here's a look at what we're anticipating by 7 o'clock. Wind chill values in the 30s. Okay, so once all this rain gets out of the way, the cold front passes through, and you're going to feel it. It's going to be a cold afternoon, and I think we'll start to bounce back a good bit as we land into the rest of the week and next week and the weekend. But right now, I am anticipating this storm line to quiet down. Nothing too significant here, and we're just going to see this kind of dwindling down. So, Tabitha, that severe weather threat. While we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for Augusta, Richmond County, Aiken County, Columbia County, the metro, this is just not a very impressive system at all. And thankfully, that is the case. So the heaviest of the rain's coming down now. It's going to continue to in the Augusta area over the next hour. But by 11 o'clock, all this is pushing east, and I think most of this is out of the area by, I'd say, 11:30 to noon at the latest. You see the broad swath there. It's all clear now, pretty much north of I-20. So if you're north of I-20, with the exception of Evans, Martinez, Exit 5 in Sweetwater community, closer to Harlem, Deering, Augusta, North Augusta, you still got about another hour of the worst weather, and then we can give you guys the all clear. Again, no chance of tornadoes with a setup like this. It's just very unlikely that we see that happening. But what we're watching, again, is for the chance of some brief, broad rotation. Doesn't look very impressive right now. And we're looking at storm relative velocity here. I'm going to switch the radar sites so we can get a better look at that. We're seeing some very broad rotation right over Evans and Martinez. This is the area that we're watching right now. Just something that we're monitoring. And, we got to look at it from Evans Town Center here. And you see that here. We're looking at it from Evans with that storm look. And, again, the winds are pretty calm with the storm, at least over Evans Town Center. Not seeing any big downburst gust at the moment. We're going to continue to keep close tabs on it through the morning and keep you up to date with the very latest. But, again, right now, I think, we see this going and exiting the entire area by no later than noon. And then we're just going to see some rain behind it. So that's kind of what it looks like over the next few hours. But back to these storms. Again, we are tracking them closely, making sure that we, are keeping a watch hawk's eye on it, if you will. And, I think this is going to be done by about 11 o'clock, the all clear for most of the area. The Augusta Metro, I think you've got until about 11 with this, and then we're done. So we've got to watch this, but, again, I just don't see a significant severe weather threat at this time. I'm going to go ahead and swap that over to Columbia so we can get a better bird's eye view of this. And, these storms, just not that impressive today. And that's thankfully the case. We love to see that. Watching some areas of just broad rotation. Again, this is right over us here at Fox 54 Studios, where this is rotating. But the chances of a tornado forming look very low at this time. Still not going to rule anything out. But again, I'm not seeing anything that's overly concerning for us over the next few hours. We'll do a quick radar reset real fast. That tornado watch goes through 2 p.m. I think that will expire well before then for the record. So that tornado watch will probably expire, I'd say, at the latest noon. For the Augusta area, I'm going to say 11 o'clock. So that tornado watch doesn't have much life on it left. Severe thunderstorm watch, that goes for our northern counties. Again, all that to say, the worst of the weather's happening now, and it's not that bad, thankfully. And hopefully that'll just keep on going as we head to the next couple of hours here. And then we will just mosey on with our Monday, and it's about to get a whole lot colder. So what we're looking at now is a strong cell right over Augusta, and we're going to stay with you through this. I'm not seeing anything overly impressive. I think 11 o'clock, this is out of the way. If you're in Barnwell County, you're seeing the worst of this right now. And I'm going to switch over to the Charleston radar site for a moment because I'm seeing maybe some trends here that we got to watch in Barnwell County. And maybe the National Weather Service in Charleston is going to be looking at that. Very broad rotation happening pretty much in the same place that it was the last go-around on Thursday. So if you're in Barnwell County, if you're in Allendale County, these are the areas that I'm watching the closest right now for potential rotation. We're seeing more signs of that down this way than we are in the Augusta Metro. If you're in the Augusta Metro, though, gust up to 60 miles an hour can't be ruled out. Heavy rain, thunder and lightning, disruptive travel conditions. That's going to continue over the next hour. So watching us there, we'll continue to monitor and keep a close eye on things. But right now, still looking at Barnwell, Allendale, and southeastern Burke counties. And I'm going to go ahead and swap that over to the Charleston site, see what we can get out of that. This is an area of rotation that I am watching pretty closely. And we might be cutting into programming there on Fox 54, watching that cell in Allendale County very close as that tracks more or less towards the east-northeast, right over Millet here. I want you guys to be watching that close. Along the leading edge is where I'm watching the most right now. So if you're just joining us, again, we're watching this storm that's, I think Walterboro, Gwen, is going to see some stronger weather today as well. I will say that, Gwen. I think it'll keep its head of steam into there. I think there's a more favorable environment closer to Walterboro. Let's see. So we're watching this cell down here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on Charleston, and we're going to go ahead and go We're going to go SRV here. Yeah, I'm going to switch that side. This is the area I'm most concerned about. Is near Millet. This is very similar to the same tornado path that we had earlier last Thursday. And that rotation is starting to try to tighten up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that our control room knows about that. And I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure our control room is aware that we do have a potential tornado trying to develop right near Millet. And if you're in Barnwell, heads up on this, because this is going to be getting closer to you guys once again near Klein, Owens Cross Road, and those areas. I'm going to be right back. All right. And continuing to monitor the National Weather Service here in Charleston, who would be responsible for actually issuing that tornado warning. And seeing what we can get there. That's the cell I'm watching closest. And this thing's still suspicious at this hour. So we are continuing to monitor what could be. If you're going ahead, if you're in Millet, if you're in Owens Crossroads, or if you're in Klein, it's good to be inside right now. This rotation's very broad, but it is something that we're watching right here. And so this storm moving at a pretty good clip. They've allowed the severe thunderstorm warning on this same storm to expire, but will they issue a tornado warning? We're watching that area close, and that's going to track off to the east-northeast. So if you're along Highway 278, State Road 3, anywhere from Barnwell to Klein to Allendale, this is going to pass north of you by a little bit. That rotation's staying pretty broad. But we are watching it. That latest scan still showing some very weak rotation. Still doesn't look very impressive, but that's the one area I would say we're going to have to watch over the next, I'd say, 30 minutes is crossing State Road 125, so Atomic Road all the way down that direction, and it's moving up to the northeast. So Klein, you'd be in the path of this. There's lightning around it. If you turn on the lightning strikes, you'll see that, there's lightning there at the core of that storm. And we usually look for lightning for an intensifying storm that could produce a potential tornado. So something that we're watching, and something we'll keep a close eye on as we head into the next few hours. And just something that we're going to be closely monitoring here over the next little bit. I'll be right back, one moment, as we track that storm.